I'm spreading this mulch and this beast tried to attack me. These are galvanized steel hangers, mostly from framing. I just had a bunch left over. So I screwed them into this board. These screws will rot, but I doubt they'll rot as fast as the wood, so I'm not too worried about it. This is filter fabric or weed barrier. We just stapled some up to the side here. When we came down, we don't want any soil washing out underneath the board. So that's how we're preventing that. And then we'll put the soil right on top of that, and then we can put the plants in. A little bit about the soil for whoever is curious. So at the very bottom there is perlite. You can see this is perlite, this white stuff that's mixed in with a lot of soil. On top of that I use a cactus blend because it had some pumice in it. It had a bunch of forest wood chips and whatnot. And then I mix that about 50-50 ratio with some peat moss. Reason being because the peat moss is healthy for roots, and it allows enough drainage, but it also holds in the moisture, but not in a way that it can typically rot the roots very badly. And then on top of this, I'm going to sort of dress the whole thing. After I get these irrigation lines ran all the way, I'm going to dress it all with some black wood chips. For now, I've got some temporary drip lines ran to these just off of garden hose and a little timer. These are about 30 bucks. Just has an input. This one's dripping all over the place. But they'll separate two different channels. It's pretty handy. You can do it up to, I think, every 6 hours if you wanted to. But it's not as nearly as versatile as what would control your entire yard. But it's kind of handy, especially if you need to temporarily water some plants. Like if you're going on vacation and you're not 100% sure that your sprinklers are going to cover it, you can supplement it with this sort of thing or run it entirely. Before I built this greenhouse, I had the entire thing, all my plants in pots, and I had it all ran off a couple of these clocks and just ran into this PVC contraption that goes into this sort of a drip line, and that's how I ran the whole thing and kept all the plants alive. The irrigation all comes through these holes that I left in the stem wall with some 3-inch corrugated pipe. I stuck them in the forms when we were pouring it, and that way I can run this stuff later because I didn't know exactly how I wanted it. But I ran these along the bottom of the wall. One of them goes behind the wall and then up to some spray misters. The other one goes around, you can see it right there, and then pops out and feeds this drip line. Before I cover this all up, here's what I've got worked out for irrigation. This has 8 different spots. I think in another clip I said 10, but it only has 8, which is plenty. Right now I'm using it to run into the pots. Specifically, this is a lemon tree, or bush, whatever you call them. But I hooked it up with these fittings as follows. This was a 0.71 drip line. This was a push-in adapter that just had threads on the end. And this is a hose connection. The reason I'm doing that is because if I need to change anything in the future, I can just unscrew that. I can add a T-fitting, add a bunch more drips. I can run drip lines up to shelves with plants on top of it. Whatever I need to do, hook it up to a hose. If the irrigation ever shuts off, I actually hook a hose up to this end and run it in reverse, which I've got another thing on the other end to do that. But that's kind of what I have figured, because I don't know exactly what this is going to develop into. But this way leaves it open up for changes later on down the road. I'm adding this black mulch on top of everything, just to kind of lock in the moisture and kind of discourage the weeds from growing. Here is the misters. So I capped these off again with the hose fitting. You can just unscrew that and add a hose if you needed to expand it. These little brass misters are 0.3 millimeter, I believe. They're not very expensive on Amazon. I just ordered them. They came with like a 12 pack. You punch a hole in this 0.71 drip line and you just poke them right through. I haven't had any problems with them leaking. I notched this beam so that it sits kind of flush, just because I think it looks cleaner. Held them up with some finished nails, and that's that. I can turn these on. These are the primary source, actually. I don't really use much of the drips except for potted plants. These put out enough water, and frequently enough, that I can just drip them right down, just like rain. We don't lose a lot because the humidity just raises in the greenhouse. Finally got stuff planted. Those are Gerber daisies. There's sweet potato vine back there, raspberry, more Gerber daisies. This is a Canaan lily, I believe. Sweet potato vines. We're hoping that'll grow all the way up this chicken wire. Over on this side we got Gerber daisy. What is that? Confederate jasmine. It smells really nice. More sweet potato vine, more Gerber daisies. There's one that's actually in flower right now. Sweet potato vines. So they have them in this dark purple color and this lighter green. It adds a nice contrast. And it just kind of vines out and grows everywhere, so it'll fill up all the gaps. Asparagus fern. Lime, lemon, which are still in pots. This is an orange. More sweet potato vines.